I see we got Perry, we got Kyle, we got Emin, we got Joshua, and Kimberly. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Morning.
And Gal.
Good morning.
Hi.
Rob, the adults for the most part are going to be on mute unless we have something that we have to help along with, okay? So the boys are going to run this, okay?
Understand.
Thank you for your time today, and we
Okay.
appreciate you being here. So I'm going to go on mute.
We appreciate
I'm
it.
Kyle's coach for the project, and I'm also
Super.
the committee chair for the troop. And Kim is a committee member for the troop also.
As commander of the VFW in Brewster, we appreciate anything to do with the veterans, anything we can do with the community, and especially Brewster High School and the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, because as you know, you use our facility all the time. So it's like, this is wonderful. We appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll just start off with the intro. Date is July 20, 2020. It's currently 9:29 a.m. Person being interviewed is Rottkamp, and just going to go through the list of everyone here. Perry Verino, Kyle DeSantis, Kim Cersina, Eamon McEnany, and Josh Constantino. And Mr. Rottkamp, if you'd like to say your war, your branch of service, where you served, and what your rank was.
Okay, I was in the branch of service was Army. I was inducted or drafted, if you will, as soon as I got out of college. I was out of college about a month and a half, and I got drafted. The draft board at that time was picking individuals because they were losing guys left and right over in Vietnam. So I was drafted. I went into the U.S. Army 1967 to 1969, and 68 through 69, I was in Vietnam.
Josh, you could go ahead with section 1.
Okay. Where you just answered that. Where were you living at the time when you were drafted?
Long Island, Hempstead, Long Island, and the Hempstead Draft Board is the board that drafted me. You get a letter in the mail, greetings from the President of the United States, and you've been asked to serve, and I had absolutely no problem with it. I mean, I was scared out of my mind, but at the same time, I felt this is the greatest country in the world, and it was my duty to serve and to give back.
How was your boot camp experience and your training?
Boot camp was brutal. I mean, basically, went down to Penn Station, got onto a train, okay, and we took from train. We went down to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and basically, it was in August. We get out of the train, and it was like 150 degrees. We were in barracks that were basically hadn't been used since World War II to train soldiers in. No air conditioning. Basically, the screens all broken out, and part of the job we had, one of the first things was to fix up the building, clean it, what have you. And that's basically where we did 6 weeks of basic training, which everyone does.
Do you remember your instructors there?
Yes, Sergeant Garcia was the drill sergeant. He was a Vietnam veteran. I would say he was approximately 45 years of age, and they did everything possible to prepare us for going to Vietnam, because that, everyone knew that was the end result. But it was intense. I mean, you basically, you do drill every day. You do training. You learn how to shoot a rifle. You learn how to, safety procedures. You learn all about the weapons, all about the equipment. It's the preparation for soldiering. They also get you into a mental state that you're going to have to fight. So it's intense. Most intense experience I've ever had. You go from being, one thing good about the service or anything like the Boy Scouts that you're in, you get a basis, a character from doing that.
And how did you get through it? How did you get through
Uh,
your How did you get through your training?
Training was a breeze for me. I was in shape. I mean, I was I was like you. You know, you are in perfect condition, perfect health, and no problem at all. You get up about 3 o'clock in the morning. You run about 3 or 4 miles, okay, and then you do whatever the basic training was for that day. One day it was rifles. Next day it was safety. Next day it was climbing. So every day you had a mission. And you perform that mission, and then you get graded onto it. And at the end, you have a big test. You have to run a mile in combat boots in under 5 minutes. You have to throw a grenade. You have to shoot a rifle, everything to pass.
Kyle, do you want me to do the next part or
Yeah, you're all good. Just go through section 2 now.
all right?
Kind of interesting too, when you had for every day you had PT all the time, but in order to get into the mess hall, you had to pass a test. You had to crawl like 20 feet. You had to do the handbars. Everything was physical conditioning.
All right. So, where did you actually go in Vietnam? Like, where specifically?
Vietnam, I went to a place called Zion with the Big Red One, 1st Infantry Division. And I was in service and evac, and our job was to, when there was a battle or any equipment broke down, we went out and got it. So I was in a 5-ton wrecker. I also ran convoy from Zion to Lai Khe every 3 days through enemy territory to supply Lai Khe with supplies. I was also a tank commander. So I had an M88, which was a tank retrieval, and we retrieved all the broken tanks. So it was intense.
How do you retrieve a tank? With another tank? I'm just curious how you get the tank out of the field.
The normal tank was an M48, which was basically a diesel tank with you see the rifle on the top of the big cannon in the front, what have you. I was an M88. It's twice the size of an M48. And in the back, it had a tow bar, and it had also a blade in the front and a winch. And so we'd hook right to the tank, and I could pull an M48, a dead M48, at 30 miles an hour back to base camp. Huge tank.
Okay.
Had twin 50 caliber machine guns. We'd go in and they'd still be shooting, and we'd be pulling tanks out. So it was an experience. I'm telling you, I seen all the tanks blown up. I've seen, they had the RPG rockets that used to hit the side of the tanks. I have pictures of all this stuff, and you can see I get emotional right today because it's something that changes you forever. And the guys were so heroic, and everybody was for the country. Thank you.
So, do you remember arriving, and what was it like?
Arriving, Benoit Airport, jet circles, right? This thing they come straight down. Okay, they come straight down. They land on the tarmac. As soon as they land on the tarmac, on the far end of Benoit was the place that I landed. The whole place was made of concrete blocks. So when they had a mortar attack, the mortar would hit and blow a piece of the runway away. They could repair that runway in like 15 minutes. They just took another block and put it in. So the plane lands. It was a Flying Tigers airline. We got about 350 guys on the plane. We see in the distance, right, the 350 guys that have done their year in Vietnam who are going to jump on the plane. The plane lands on the tarmac, like it comes down. Before the plane is stopped, they got the doors open. We're jumping off the airplane. They're throwing the duffel bags out the back. They unloaded and put the guys that were going back out in, I would say, less than an hour. The plane was completely deplaned, all the baggage off, new guys on, and then they take off. As soon as that plane takes off, it starts raining. They put the duffel bags into a huge pile. And I don't know if you know what laterite is, but over there they have it's like the stickiest, gooeyest mud you ever want to see in your life, okay? And the duffel bags are piled up in a big heap. And it's raining like crazy. And we are watching, the plane takes off. We're watching the duffel bags slowly sink down into the mud. And we're saying to ourselves, I hope my bag's not on the bottom because the bottom row, 2 rows of duffel bags were just covered with mud. So mine wasn't, so I was lucky on that deal. It was like in the middle of the heap. But regardless, we take our bags and we go into the hooch. Now the hooch, they built these things that were just like buildings with sticks and then screens on the side and a tin roof. You walk in, there's spiders and bugs coming down from the ceiling. We just knew we were in big trouble. I mean, it was like in 15 minutes, going back to what the world was like 75 years ago. In 15 minutes, there was silence. Everybody was quiet. Nobody knew. Everybody was following orders, what have you. Now, I don't know if you know about Vietnam, but it's like in the day, you either have extreme heat or it's raining. So it's just I can't explain to you how you can, one moment, it's sort of like when electricity goes off. One moment you have it, the next moment you don't, and you realize what you're missing. So right away, we knew we were in for the experience of our lives, and we were. And you acclimate to it very quickly. You know, it's just like war, you acclimate to it. You kind of become an animal in stages. You know, you can't just kill somebody, you know, be standing there one day and the next, you know, it's a process. You have to get into a process. And once you get into that process, like most of the guys, if you survive 30 to 60 days over there, you knew the routine, you knew what to do, you knew what you had to do, you needed to be on guard. See, there's no front line. Any place you go, you could be killed. So you're always on guard, even when you're sleeping with one eye open. So it's a completely different, I can't explain it to you. You have to be there. I hear people talk about Vietnam and places and they haven't been there. You just can't, there's no way that you can explain. And you know, like I said, the first half an hour, you know you were in it. And then you do everything you can to survive. Your buddies, like the guys that are on the phone with you, they become family. They become, you know, you'd give your life for the guy that, you know, your buddies, you stick together. Like in the tank, I had 5 crew members on my tank. We were family. We were knit together. We would do anything for each other. And always had one guy on lookout, always had one guy on watch. It was that kind of a deal.
So you saw combat. Was there many casualties in your unit?
We had guys that got killed. We were defense for first air cav. We were backup for them, and we seen a lot of those guys get killed. You know, and then you get used to that too. I'd go out on wrecks, and there'd be 3 or 4 guys laying there. You know, and so we'd have to, and then they'd be shooting from the distance, and we'd shoot for a while, and then we'd hook up to the tank quick. When I ran convoy, the convoy never stops. So you have a 3-hour trip from Zion to Lai Khe. The convoy never stops. I had a 510 wrecker, and I had 3 spare tractor trailers. If one of the tractor trailers broke down, we could unhook that tractor and leave it there, hook the running tractor to the trailer, and keep moving. So if you stopped, you were a target. So you had to keep moving. So what we would do is as the convoy was moving, we'd hook up and get back into the convoy. You know, that's the way it was. It just never stopped. I did every 3 days from Zion to Lai Khe, and I could tell you stories there where things broke down and they were shooting. And then, in fact, they issued me I couldn't shoot the M16 out of the cab and drive the wrecker at the same time. So I was issued a pistol so I could roll down the window of the truck, still hold on to the steering wheel, and shoot out the door with the pistol as we were driving. And you know, I had one shotgun. I had a shotgun. We wore flak jackets and helmets, of course, and you know, prayed that we wouldn't get a direct hit. I was never afraid of getting killed. I figured if you got killed, you got killed. I was always afraid of getting wounded or getting a brain damage or something like that. So many guys had that. They couldn't take the pressure, and also they got wounded or they got really banged up. I mean, lost an arm or a leg. I was very, very fortunate to escape anything serious. I got the Soldier's Medal, the Congressional Soldier's Medal for bravery for saving a guy's life. Over there, the roads are built high, and the laterite, they pile it up, and the rice paddies are down below. So you're riding on this like bridge. Now they didn't use any kind of asphalt, but they sprayed it with oil to harden the ground on top, and it did. It hardened the ground. It was like a concrete surface. But when it rained, it was slippery. So the deal around in Vietnam, there's base camps all over the place. The base camps are open all day and closed at night. You have to get back to the base camp and be inside the base camp, which was the safest place to be. Not totally safe, but much safer than being outside of the base camp, which makes sense, right? Because you're out in enemy territory. So it was always a daily rush when nightfall was coming for people that were outside in no man's land to get into a base if they were close to it, where it was much more protected. They had food gas around it. They had barbed wire and what have you, and also guns. So there was always a rush when nightfall was coming to get into the base, and then it would start raining. Well, rain and oil, you know what that does, right? It makes for a slippery surface. So one day, and we were always called if somebody wrecked, to get them in, to try to pull them in. So one day, a guy was coming around the corner with a deuce and a half, 3 guys in the truck, and head on into a tank, M48 going the other way. The tank went right over the truck, crushed the truck, killed 1 guy instantly, killed 2 guys instantly, and 1 guy was underneath the tank, the M48, stuck in an air gap. It was like an air tunnel between the mud and the tank because it just slid right over the truck. And he was buried underneath the tank, and he was screaming, right? So they called us. So my tank had a big crane on the front of it too, and it had a plow in the front, a blade. So we took the blade, we ran out, took the blade, put it down into the mud, okay? We were way over the capacity of the limit of the crane and the chain, hooked it to the front 2 pivots on the M48, got it up just enough. We dug underneath into the mud, pulled the guy out, saved his life. He lost his right arm, but he lived. He lost his one eye too. But and so I got the Soldier's Medal for bravery for doing that. So that was one of my joys of my life. And that happened all the time. We did it with the deuce and a halves and everything. Tractor trailers, we had tankers. Tankers would be riding on top of the thing, and then they would slide off the road because the guys didn't know how to use the Jake brakes, and then they would lock up the back of the trailer, and the whole thing would roll over into the ditch. And that was down, I'm talking, it was like 20 feet down. And we had another one where the trailer, he was trapped in the cab, so we had to carefully roll the tractor back and get the guy out of the cab, and the gasoline was leaking out of it, that kind of stuff. So that's what I had all the time. In fact, I became so good at that, at the retrieval business, they used to fly me in a helicopter to other tanks to go out on their missions. So it was, I have a lot of stories. But,
All right, Eamon, you're good to start with section 3.
All right.
Yeah, guys, if I start rambling on, just stop me.
No, you're not rambling. This is great. Thank you.
It's good.
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can with my emotions. This stuff for years and years, I didn't talk about this stuff. In fact, when we came back, it was such a disgrace that I took everything that I had and just threw it in the closet somewhere, put it in the attic. 20 years later, I started coming out of it. And even today, it's tough for me because it was a time of my life that, I just kind of put aside for so many years.
All right. So my first question would be, how was the food? Did you have people prepare it, or did you have an MRE? I've heard those are
MREs didn't exist. Well, the only thing we had was C rations. Now the C rations, when we went out in the field, in the base, you would get a meal at the mess. Okay, so you'd go to the mess hall and you'd get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But we very rarely got all three. Most of the times we're out in the field. When you're out in the field, you have C rations. Now C rations were made in the 1940s and 50s for World War II. It was basically a cardboard case. Inside the case was canned food from the 1950s. You can imagine what that stuff was like. I mean, we had what we call tanker stew. And what would happen is if you open up the box, we knew exactly which cans, like the fruit salad was tremendous. They had canned bread. It was so hard, you could use it for concrete blocks. So that, there was some things we just took and threw away. But the fruit salad, the turkey, and what have you. And we had I think I still got it someplace, a piece of paper that had said, you mix this can with this can and that can with this can. We put it into a pot, made a little fire, and we heat that up and we'd eat that. They called it tanker stew. But the food was horrible. I weigh now, my average is like 210. When I came home from Vietnam, I was covered in ringworms. And does anybody want to guess how much I weighed? Somebody take a guess.
120.
Close, 130. So I'm in JFK and I'm walking down the hall. Here comes my mother and father. So they walk past me. They get about 3 feet past me. My mother goes, "Oh my God!" and because I looked like terrible. In fact, the only thing that worked on the ringworms is I saved about 6 tins of the Army foot powder. And that stuff was tremendous. That would cure anything. And I put that all over my skin, and slowly it dissipated. But my mother started making turkey for me, and I ate turkey every day. Turkey and stuffing away. It was just tremendous. But the food was horrible. Food was horrible. I mean, you get used to it, but it's horrible. They give you, when you go into the mess hall, a salt pill about this big. And right away, that kills your appetite. But you couldn't eat unless you took it. So no milk. The milk, once a month, they'd have powdered milk. And we would drink that as much as we could get, but it would run out in like 10 minutes. So it was basically iced tea, whatever they had. The liver was horrible. The only thing that was halfway decent was the spaghetti. They couldn't kill that. The spaghetti and the meat sauce was about the only thing that was good on Fridays. But the food was horrible. I kept eating. I couldn't gain weight. I kept losing weight. It's so hot, you lose weight anyway. By the way, we worked 12, 16-hour days. 6 days, most of the time, 7 days a week. Once in a blue moon, I would get a Sunday off, and it was the greatest thing to go to church. People say, I haven't missed church since I came back every Sunday. When you get something taken away from you, that's when you appreciate it. It's just, so once a month I could go to the local chapel and church, stuff like that. But other than that, we were working.
All right. Did you have any like special things you did, like, wear the same socks or something for like good luck or anything?
Well, okay, I'll tell you funny experiences. I got so many stories I could talk for a day. They have what they call a 2P and a 1P laundry service over there. Let me explain to you what that is, okay? You get script money when you go. You don't have US dollars. They use script. So the Army gives you these little script. It looks like Monopoly money. And that's the money that you have for your deal. So the laundry that you have over there is called 1P and 2P. The P is like $1 in Vietnamese. And so you sign up for what laundry service you want, right? The 2P is supposed to be the best, right? And you're supposed to get your own stuff back, which never worked. I mean, I don't care if you took the 1P or the 2P. So you arrived with your own socks, right? Your own underwear. By the way, underwear, you wear no underwear. So it's like you got to get used to that. But there is no underwear. You don't wear underwear. So the first thing you do is you're new. So you send in your underwear and it like disappears. Or you get somebody else's back. You never get your own back. So and they didn't want you to wear underwear because you got a rash. You sweated so much that there's no way you could prevent rashes. So nobody wore underwear. So basically, your clothes would go to the laundry. You hope you got your own back, and if you didn't get your own back, you'd get something that fit. So what you do is you trade with other guys. The only thing that you would get back that was yours was the blouse, the uniform blouse, which had your name on it. So that you'd get back. So you'd get your own shirt back. Everything else was like optional. You never know what pants you were getting back. Socks you'd wear, any socks that came back, and underwear. Didn't wear underwear for the whole year.
All right.
So that's an experience.
So this actually could tie with the next one. So with that money that you used, did you, for entertainment, did you, like, any of the people that you were with, like, played like card games or like poker or played maybe some sports with the?
You can, but the problem is that you can't turn on any lights at night. And if you do, you have to use the red lights. And if you're on alert, which we were in 68 for the 10 offenses, you can't use anything. So we're always in the dark. Plus, we were so tired, I could fall asleep standing up. I mean, you were just completely whooped. So it's like, like if they called a break or anything like that, you just slept. There wasn't much time. But if we did get a day off, yeah, we'd play cards. We'd play cards or what have you. You know, we had 2 Conex containers of beer for the company every month. And I remember we had 2 Conex, which is a steel thing. It's a steel, like, locked cabinet thing. And you get one of Carling Black Label and you get one of Budweiser. The Carling Black Label was 3-2, so it was like horrible. The Budweiser was great. So obviously when the beer was delivered, okay, everybody would have, a beer at night, all right, and then drink the Budweiser till that was gone and go to the Carling Black Label. So one month, the 2 Conex containers are delivered, okay? Rock Attack comes in, hits the Budweiser Conex container. It was the worst month that I was over there. So the only thing we had was 1 Conex container of Carling Black Label, which was like used up in 3 days. And so that was horrible, because the only relief we had is after we get done working about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night is have a cold beer. I'll never forget that.
All right. Do you recall, like, any particular, like, funny moments with anybody or anything that you?
Oh yeah,
did?
I mean, I could go forever. You first get over there, you don't know what the heck's going on, and of course the guys don't give you a break. The guys that have been there forever, it's like, they're gonna take you through the ropes. So at night you have, like I told you, you have the hooches, they're called, which are basically cement floors, screens, a frame, a couple of fans, and a tin roof. Screens on the side. Between the hooches, you have a bunker between each one, so that when you get a rocket attack, okay, you basically run out of the because there's no security in the hooch. You run out of the hooch, and you run down to the bunker, which is underground, full of water, by the way, and it's got steel supports and sandbags over it, so that's your best protection against a rocket attack. So the new guys come in. When the siren goes off, the guys that have been there for any amount of time, first of all, you know exactly where the things, you can hear by the whistling exactly where they're going to hit, and whether it's like time to run or, I got some time, that it's not that close. So the first rocket attack, new guy gets up to the bunker, goes right through the screen, right through the side of the hooch, screams all around him, falls into the thing with the screen, crashes his head on top of the bunker, and he's laying there. We're all left, and the rest of us are kind of like just walking down into the thing. But, there was that period of time, that break-in period of time that everybody got. So it was like a lot of stories like that where guys just did crazy things when the first, you never know what you're going to do when you come under fire. It's that kind of a deal. So it's like, once you're experienced and once you know what to do, what to grab, where to go, what have you, it's complete. But I'll never forget that guy. He was so embarrassed. He was like, He's banged up. He had to go to medical and get his head taped up. So he had to wear the bandage for 3 days, and of course everybody laughed at him for 3 days.
Did you have any like photographs? Did you take any personal ones, or did people take them
Well,
for you?
remember now, communications, you guys don't understand. Communications, basically, we were isolated. There was no phones, no TV, no radio, none of that stuff. The only thing we had at that time was slide film, Kodachrome slide film. So I took 40 trays of slides while I was over there. I have them all and converted them digitally. So I have a whole history of my stay in Vietnam. And, you know, real live shots, the convoy shots I was talking about, I didn't take anything gross, but I took all the stuff. So I took a lot of slides. Communications wise, the only communications was letters. So you could, you know, mail call was like huge.
All right. And did you keep any like notes or like a diary or?
Yes. I kept a diary for, I would say, 6 months of my time. And then I got so busy, I couldn't do it anymore. But I kept a day-to-day diary of every day that I was over there for the first like 6 months. You know, and it's amazing. You read it today and it's like, oh my God, you know, how did I do that?
All right. Did you continue like any of those like relationships that you had with anybody, or was it kind of?
I had close relationships, but we were all so embarrassed. We got back and we felt like we were idiots for serving, so to speak. I mean, the country just treated us like crap. So it was like, you know, I don't want to talk about it kind of a thing. So we isolated ourselves. 2 of the guys that came back with me killed themselves. I mean, they couldn't take the stress, and you know, they just couldn't take the pressure, and you know, either went on drugs or went nuts. I spoke to their parents, and it was one of those things. They went crazy. They lost control. But so I kept the relationships with them for a while, but because of what I just said, nobody wanted to talk about it. Everybody just wanted to, you know, forget about it. The relationships disappeared. I joined the VFW, like I said, only about 7 years ago. So I kind of came out of my shell and said, you know, it's time to get over that. So, but now everybody's very supportive, just like you guys.
Were you shocked by, when you got back, were you shocked by what was going on in the U.S.? Like you were so disconnected because you were kind of locked out there. So was it
totally? We thought the country was all behind us. In fact, what surprised me more than anything is when I landed in San Francisco and I was processing out of Fort Ord, they treated us like we were monkeys. You know, I didn't expect a hero's welcome and I didn't expect a steak dinner, but I did expect a place to sleep. They put us on bleachers. They barely fed us. They basically put us in rows, and we were treated like we were nothing. Guys took the uniforms and just burned them and got civilian clothes and flew back civilian because they were afraid to put the uniform on. It was terrible. It wasn't for my family. My family was so supportive. It was great. I mean, my family saved my life because it took me about 6 months to get out of the kill mode to get to be a human being again. And they did it for me. They gave me the time. They gave me the support. They saw that I needed to be alone sometimes. They left me, you know, read and what have you. And slowly I came back. And, you know, but if you didn't have that family support, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you de-roast. I don't know how you turn around. I really don't.
All right. Did you like remember like your last day, like before you went home?
Tell you what, as much as I wanted to get out of that place, I felt so guilty leaving the guys behind that still had to serve. It was one of the toughest things I've ever done. I really wanted to stay. I wanted to leave, but I didn't want to leave. But, I forced myself to go. It was time to go. And, I kept contact with them for a while, but, like I said, it disappears very quickly, especially when, you're kind of embarrassed.
All right. And my last question, did you go back? Did you do any type of work after or go to like school or anything like that?
Well, I was pretty fortunate because like I said, I had finished college before I went over. Okay. In fact, what happened is when I get out of school, I knew I was going to be drafted. So I said, well, what's the safest one that I can go into? And I said, probably the Navy. So I went down to the Navy draft board, and they have tests that they give you, right? And so I took the test, aced the test. So the Navy, which I figured was the safest, okay, I passed the test. I'm on the thing. 10-week waiting list. Okay, I was on to get into the Navy because everybody's doing the same thing. I got drafted before that 10 weeks was up, so I had to go into the Army. So I had a big decision to make because a lot of guys were jumping off to Canada, but I couldn't do it. I love my family. I love this country. And I said, no, I'm going to serve. That's it. So that's what I did.
Okay.
All right, I'm just going to ask a few more questions to kind of wrap up this interview. Thank you for your time. I'm just going to start with, so what did you go on to do as a career once you returned from Vietnam?
Returned to Vietnam. Like I said, I had a mechanical engineering degree. Okay. So what I did is I went to Westinghouse. It was one of the electric companies. I can't remember which one, but I got the job there like instantly. Hated it. It was like horrible. I hated it. It was like working in the dark with lacing cord and making connections, what have you. So I said, no, I got to find something else. So I looked up. I seen IBM was hiring. So I went to IBM and I interviewed for the job. Took the test. I know I aced the test, and I know that I did good on the interview. Got the letter back. You're not, sorry, we don't need you right now. I wrote a letter to IBM every month and told them, you guys are making a mistake. I'm perfect for this job, and this job is perfect for me. I did that every month. About fast forward 10 years later, the guy that's working for me, okay, was the guy who hired me. And he said to me, because I got the job, I finally got the job. He said to me, the reason why you didn't get the job was because we could only hire minorities. So it was my persistence that got me in the IBM. And what I say to you young folks is, if you see something that you really want, don't give up. Go for it. If you really see something you want and you try hard enough, you'll get it. But you cannot give up. You have to go and get it. So that job, 40 years, I was with IBM because I was persistent. It was the best job I ever had. And, that's a true story. So, one thing you got to learn is you have to fight for what you want, and you have to be qualified. Education is key. Companies or businesses will only hire you, will only keep you if your skill level is higher than somebody else's. Don't think they're going to hire you because you look good, because you have to develop your skills, and you have to stay on top of what you're doing. And if you have those skills and you work hard and you show up for work, and people always ask me when I worked for IBM, what should I wear, Mr. Rottkamp, to get ahead on IBM? I said, well, what did you wear to the interview? Just do the same thing you did to get the job, and you'll proceed in so what I say to you is take the challenge and go forward.
I got two more questions. One of them being, how have your service and your experiences, how have they affected your life?
They molded my entire life. I found out, like I said, you'll never know what it is to miss something unless somebody takes it away from you. So one thing you got to protect is your freedom. You got to protect your family. The only thing that counts in this life is your family. So regardless of how hard it is, listen to your mom and dad. Listen to what your family's telling you. Listen to the good people that are on this phone, because what they're telling you is the real deal. The stuff you see on TV, the stuff you see on the radios is all BS. You got to, what's important is the things, the people that are important to you is what's important. You have to, that's it. That's what I've learned.
All right, I got one more question. Is there anything that you would like to add that we haven't covered already in this interview?
No, I think it would be good if everyone had some sort of experience like this. Not God forbid you have to go to war. It's terrible. But Peace Corps or something like that, something with structure like you're doing with the Boy Scouts or with ROTC is tremendous. Take advantage of it. Life is tough. You have to be strong. You have to get yourself built up. And the only way you do that is get involved.
Thank you.
Thank you.